hello and welcome to this Christmas Eve special of Startup Central. I'm Nantara Rai in New Delhi. We've got a special show lined up for you over the next 60 minutes. Remember, this is the only show of its kind on Indian television dedicated to startups, entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, disruption, and we'll get you ideas and lots of Christmas treats over the next 60 minutes. Stay in touch with us, ladies and gentlemen. We love your feedback, good or bad or ugly. We'll take it all. We'll lap it up. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. I'm also on Twitter. You can reach out to me directly. Pitch to us. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll be a part of Startup Central. And now we're going to get you a Christmas treat. These are the folks that have discovered some of the best in business, whether it is Ola, whether it's Procto, whether it is Quicker. Yes, I'm talking about Matrix Partners, and we found out that Matrix Partners is going to be bullish in the consumer brand space even in 2020. This is the Christmas special that we have got for you on Startup Central. Remember, these are some of the best in business. They're credited for discussing some of the companies I just told you about very early on. So what does it take to get Matrix on board? I'm going to be joined now by the Vice President of the Consumer Business, Santosh, joining us right here. Thanks so much for joining us. First of all, wishing you and the entire team at Matrix a very happy new year. Thank you for being a part of the show on Christmas Eve. How was 2019? It certainly looked like a very, very busy one for folks like you.
Very happy holidays to you as well, Nayantara, and thank you for having me. So I think 2019 has been a very, very busy year for us as a fund, and as you know, I look at the consumer sector for the fund, and even within the consumer sector, you know, we've done 6 deals in the last 15 months odd. So it's been very busy, but very, very productive. So good year.
Hear that. But you know, while you touched on this, and you know, I'm going to be asking you to look into your Excel sheet, your projections, even a crystal ball if you have one. But at this point, you know, the valuations are sky high, but these are all private valuations. We still have not seen a lot of the startups in India go public.
Yeah, no, look, it's very hard to call. 2019 has been good. I think more than, well, I think the valuations catch most of the headlines, but more than the valuations, I think we've seen a lot of high quality companies come out of India. Not only in terms of growth, but for the first time, I think we're seeing truly monetizable opportunities, companies that are turning profitable, and some of them actually even turning cash flow positive. And I think that's a great sign for the ecosystem, because that's not happened in the Indian tech sector before. Now, along with that, yes, I think valuations have been sky high, and therefore you have seen, you know, a record number of unicorns, which is great for the overall sentiment of the tech economy. You know, if I were to take a call, I think 2020 will likely be a little bit of a tougher year. I think we've already seen the sentiment turn a little bit, starting with the US, with SoftBank and WeWork and so on. So I think that's bound to come to India and other parts of the world as well. But I think if the underlying, like I said, the quality of the companies persists, those short-term changes in valuations, I don't think deter us in any way.
So, do you think you will see IPOs in 2020? You know, there's a lot of rumor mongering, for example, that maybe, just maybe, the Indian government will allow tech companies, startups to list overseas, maybe even at the NASDAQ. But what's your projection for and trend that you're expecting in 2020? Could that finally be the year where we're going to know the true public valuations of all of these startups?
Yeah. So I think we haven't seen too many companies go public, because the Indian law also doesn't allow you to go public unless you're profitable. I think that will change, the fact that, you know, we're seeing early signs of profitable companies. So, you know, take a step back. What does it take for a company to go public? It's not a very scientific calculation, to be honest, but broadly speaking, you want a $100 million company that is growing 50 to 60% year on year, profitable, ideally cash flow positive. That is an IPOable company. And up until I would say, late 2018, 2019, we didn't have tech companies with that kind of profile. But today, we probably have 2 or 3 in our portfolio. I think across the top VC firms, you'll probably have, 7, 8 companies, perhaps more than that, that have that kind of a profile. So for the first time, you have optionality of going public. Now, the question is, will they go public? And that's a very different question, because, up until now, we've had late stage investors that have kind of acted as a quasi IPO because of the scale of funding that has happened in the private space. Now, if that were to change, which it might, because of the SoftBank WeWork debacle, like you put it, we might see, I think, in the next year to 2 years, probably likely in the next 24 months, some companies going public. Could be India, could be NASDAQ, could be anywhere else, but I think you'll start seeing that.
Sanjot, while we're talking about all of this, we have seen massive disruption. Going into the new year, do you think old economy giants, and these are giants, HUL, P&G, for example, do you expect that they're going to have to up their game? And just look at what else happened in 2019. We've seen startups really innovate. You can look at, for example, Meesho, what is done with social. Look what Dunzo, for example, is doing with hyperlocal. Where is this going to leave the old economy?
Yeah, no, look, I think a lot of the large companies, like you mentioned, HUL and P&G, do a lot of things really, really well. They have a great distribution machine, for example, that works well. So they churn out good products that can scale very, very quickly. But I think a lot of the disruptive companies that we are backing, stuff that you mentioned, is the kind of disruption that large companies typically struggle with a little bit. It's not really a priority for them. The DNA is not suited for that. So I think incumbent large players are also taking note of that. I have friends in these companies that you mentioned, and I think they're very, very intrigued by what's happening in the startup scenario. And the reason is twofold for the most part. I think one is the ability to own a customer segment that the large companies cannot. Typically, these are the younger segments, the millennials, now the Gen Zs of the world, because they don't relate with the large companies as much. So, newer age startups can generally speak to younger customers, own them over a lifetime much better than the large guys can. And then the second is business model disruption. Typically, it's distribution related. So if you look at the US, a lot of M&A happens in startups where companies are taking an innovative way of getting to the customer. So an example is Harry's, right? It was a blade company. So the blade itself is not necessarily, that creative or innovative a product, but the way it got to the customer, the subscription model was something that the large companies struggled with. So between owning the customer and having a very disruptive sort of business model, I think that's what is intriguing to most large incumbent players.
Okay, Sanjot, now I want to ask you about a lot more of what your projections for 2020 will be. You have indicated that it is going to be challenging. We are in the midst of an economic slowdown, from which I must say it looks like the startups are insulated from apni dunya mein a lot of exuberance. We're entering the new year with Matrix having done, 6 new investments in consumer space. What do you think is going to be hot and trending in 2020? What's got Matrix interested at this moment?
Yeah, sure. So actually, let me correct that. So I don't necessarily think from a early stage investment perspective, 2020 will likely be too much more challenging, if at all. I think we are very excited by the quality of entrepreneurs we're seeing even in the latter half of 2019, and hopefully that will continue in 2020. But I think the challenge will be more in sort of raising cheap money. I think money will not be as cheap. Profitability will be much more important than it has been in the past, much more so than pure traction and growth. And so I think entrepreneurs will need to think a little bit differently than they have been before. From an investment perspective, I think we're very excited to do more. Like I said, we've made 6 in the last 15 months. We're looking at similar sectors, the large sectors that you'll be aware of: food, FMCG, fashion, personal care. And the underlying sort of trends remain the same. I think we're targeting the younger population. India's median age is 28, 29, so half the population is very young. A significant portion is very, very connected. We're up to 40-50% internet penetration. But what that means is that global trends are showing up in India much sooner than they used to. People want to eat better, people want to look better, so better for you categories, personalized categories, I think we're very, very bullish on. So we'll continue to look at that, but I think the underlying trend will be looking for very, very high quality products, aspirational branding with the best quality teams to back out there.
Sanjot, I'm going to ask you a question which a lot of the young founders, entrepreneurs, and startups will want to know that with you on air. How are they supposed to pitch to Matrix? And yes, I know the website has all your email addresses. The next question is, do you guys read every email?
Yeah, no, look, it's very, very easy to get in touch with us. Our website itself has a section where you can submit your plan or reach out to us. And honestly, my email address is on the website as well. So if anyone wants to reach out, they should feel free. I go through every email and I respond to every email, yes.
Do read every email. In fact, another person who does that is, of course, Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Okay, but now I want to ask you the do's and don'ts. That's something else that our viewers will want to know about. This is the Christmas special where we've got Matrix partners, the discoverers of some of the best companies that are there in India. Do you have a do's and don'ts? The do's that make it for you as far as investing in a startup goes, and also the don'ts, which are equally important, the reverse pitch, what you will never go near.
So, I mean, I don't think there's a complete no-no as such, because our job is to be open-minded and kind of pick on trends in the future, and a lot of the times, honestly, we learn from the founders. So in order to remain open-minded, I don't think there are any things that we will never do. But in terms of things we like, I think there are some common trends. Like I said, we like products that are, ideally give a 5x, 10x experience compared to what's out there. What that generally means is that they're higher gross margin products. So you can reach profitability sooner. You need to raise less capital to become a large business, and you can honestly reinvest more capital in your growth. And in addition to that, I think we love deeply passionate entrepreneurs who love what they're doing, want to make this their life's work, and it makes our jobs more fun, and I think it impacts the kind of returns you have in an investment, because any investment or company will come with its ups and downs, and having an entrepreneur who's in it for the right reasons and in it for the long haul, I think really gives us a lot of confidence in what we're backing.
Do's and don'ts coming in from Matrix for you. He's, of course, heading the consumer brand division. But Sanjot, we're also talking at a time, and I must say 2019 has been a defining moment for that. We saw some of India's largest tech companies being what folks like you like to call Me Too. They copied the models from the West, whether, it was in e-commerce or it was in taxi aggregation, all of that. But now you're seeing some brilliant startups and innovators coming out who are solving specific problems for India that can also go overseas. So my question to you is, which ones have caught your eye? Which of the startups do you think can be India's Google and WhatsApp moments?
Yeah, so I think that's absolutely spot on. I think the first phase of growth, if you will, in India, like any other internet economy, was very, very similar to, say, the US, which has been at the forefront. And there's a reason for that, because the top sort of 20-30 million people in this country behave a lot like folks in New York or London. So the problems are similar, the products that they're using are similar. So the Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world are kind of very natural extensions to this customer segment. But I think as you go beyond that, right, even if you go to the top 100 million and certainly beyond the top 100 million people of the country, you will start seeing a lot more indigenous, very, very Indian products and business models. So to give you an example, one of our companies, Country Delight, is on the face of it a milk brand. But if you look beneath the surface, it's such a truly disruptive business model, right? So it starts with high quality milk right from the farm to your home within 24 to 36 hours. So it's fresher and purer than any other brand out there. But it's doing so in a very tech enabled manner. So the back end is completely tech enabled. So you have IoT solutions monitoring the quality throughout, right from milking to the delivery to the plant and to the household. But then even the distribution is completely owned through their own app. So it's directly distributed to the customer. What that means is twofold. One, your growth is not reliant on growth of marketplaces. So you're not tied to a Flipkart or an Amazon's growth because you're going directly to the consumer. So this company has been growing 3 to 4x year on year, even while the rest of the consumer internet has seen a slowdown. But also, and more importantly, perhaps you own the customer, right? You're owning a customer segment directly, so you're getting feedback directly, you're getting data on them directly that can actually help you improve your product offering and your service offering. And why this is unique is because pure and fresh milk is a very India specific issue. Most other countries in the world don't have this kind of a business model. It's because India has a lot of adulteration in milk, and it's also because at the same time India has very high penetration of milk consumption. So we're truly seeing a company emerge, and now it's sort of a growth stage company, fairly scaled, growing very fast year on year. And it's bound to be the first of its kind in the world, and I think we'll see a lot more of that in the years to come.
Okay, so that's Country Delight, which you think is solving a big problem, has the potential to become massive, see exponential growth, maybe even go overseas. But now I'm going to ask you that look outside of your portfolio. You looked within your portfolio and told me what you expect to see exponential growth. Outside the portfolio, what do you see?
Yeah, so I mean both within our portfolio and outside, I think hopefully there'll be very large companies created out of India. I think outside our portfolio in the B2B space, for example, I think Udaan is a great India specific business model. I think Meesho's done really well and will be a large company. I think Dream11, again, a very sort of India specific gaming model. And a company that's profitable as well. So an excellent example of what we can achieve out of the country. And then within our portfolio as well, I think Ola is obviously one of the larger ones. Country Delight I mentioned, and a lot of our newer consumer investments, I think you will start hearing about hopefully soon as they scale. Open Secret is targeting the children's snacking space, again an India specific sort of an issue, and Nothing Else hopefully will be India's first large clean label food products brand. Mosaic Wellness is just launching a seed investment. It's targeting the health and wellness space. That's something India hasn't seen before. And Me, again very very unique, targeting the urban Indian woman. It's a women specific food and beverage brand. So we're beginning to see a lot of original products and models coming out of both within our portfolio and outside, and I think they will be the true drivers of growth in the internet economy, I think both in 2020 and beyond, of course.
Okay, I'm happy to see that you've been candid to tell us and share with the viewers what you see to be the companies that will grow exponentially, maybe even be India's answers to WhatsApp and Google, which is not part of the Matrix portfolio. As we approach 31st December, enter 2020, do you think the big lesson has been learned by entrepreneurs that they do indeed need to obsess with the bottom line and EBITDA, just as folks like you need to?
Yeah, no, I think any business person should, and the fact that we had forgotten is a sign in itself. I think bottom line and EBITDA and profitability is really why anyone starts a business and should start a business if you are a for-profit business. And I think I look at the bright side. I think this turn in sort of sentiment is a positive, if anything. I think it's a reminder of going back to the basics, focusing on high margin products, focusing on getting to profitability as quickly as you can, but also at the same time, investing in growing businesses, and remembering that it's always a balance, and it's about getting that balance right, and it's not just about raising at the highest valuations or chasing growth at all costs.
Everybody needs to go back to the basics, and none other than perhaps even WeWork. We've seen that, right? And the second fund, which will be much smaller. Sanjot, I'm going to end with a very cheeky question. Allow me this. So as we go to the end of the year, any moments that you had which made you go, oh, damn, what did I do? What did I miss out on? And that could be, therefore be your New Year resolution?
That's an interesting question. I think there are learnings every year. I think this year's learning has been exactly what I mentioned in your last question. I think it is going back to the basics a little bit, focusing on the right metrics. I think it starts with having a superior quality product, which hopefully should translate into better unit economics, and those unit economics hopefully should translate into a profitable, self-sustaining company. And we didn't need 2019 to teach us that. I think we've all learned that in business school and otherwise growing up. But every now and then I think that sort of wake-up call is good for the whole ecosystem to nudge you in the right direction. And hopefully I think 2020 will be that. It might be a little bit more challenging for some companies, and it might see some challenging times for companies that perhaps haven't had that sort of philosophy behind their growth. But in the long run, I think it will hold us in good stead.
Okay, Sanjot, thanks for being candid. Like I said, that was a tricky question. And with that, I come to the end of this interview. And here's wishing you, your family, and the entire team at Matrix a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Happy holidays from the entire team at ET Now.
Very happy holidays to you as well. Thank you for having me, Nanda.
Okay, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. You're watching this Christmas special of Startup Central.